Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take all of these layers and group them up. So let's take the top layer and then hold shift and select all the way down to here and hit Control G, and we'll just call this radial, and we're going to leave it here in the center, and then to the left we're going to create some vertical sliders. So what we want to do to maintain consistency in terms of the design, the aesthetics, is just to make sure that everything goes together real well. So in terms of a vertical slider, it's basically the same thing, except that obviously it's vertical and the user will be able to control it with a button or a knob of some sort. So the actual slider, the part that's not filled will be black, and the part that's represented as being slid up or down, whether it's volume or whatever, it's going to be the same green. So what I'm going to do is just temporarily, this right here is just drag out. I'm going to hold Alt while doing this, and I'd say right around there. And I just want it to be the same height, and that's why I did that. So now I'm just going to push it over here to the left by holding Shift. And now what I want to do is I'm going to select this layer. So make sure Auto Select Layer is checked on, and I'm just going to click it. And then I'm going to right click and copy layer style. Then I'm going to click on this layer, right click, paste layer style. Now we're not going to be able to see anything, but basically that takes the inner glow and transfers it here, and the inner glow happens to be black in this case, so we can't see it. Now what we want to do is get this green portion in there. So the way we do that, and it's just the same way over here, we can see that this is a clipping mask. So we'll create a new layer, Control Shift N, and we will choose Use Previous Layer Clipping Mask and hit OK. And if we just double click on this, we'll get the exact color code. Cancel, and then we'll go back up here, and yeah, that's it right there. We'll just choose anywhere around here and hit Control H to get rid of the outlines. And you can see it's not really filled in quite as much as here. So we can go back here to this inner glow and bump up the opacity a little bit and bump up the size. And also you can experiment with the choke if you wish. We'll go around here. I may drop the choke down just a little bit. I think right there is pretty good. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm also going to bring that back up just one more time. I want to give it a inner shadow. Well, now actually we'll do a drop shadow. I'm going to change it to normal for blend mode. Take the opacity up to 100. Let's go around there for now. Take the size to 0 and the distance to 1. I think that's pretty good right there. So this color code is 626262, and that looks good. Now what I want to do is go ahead and create a sphere, or an ellipse rather, and we'll choose our top layer so it goes above it. Hold Shift and right around there. Alright, Control H. Now what we want to do, bring up the layer styles. We'll do a gradient overlay, and we'll change the angle here, and we'll bring up the gradient editor. We'll make this right around here, and then take this one and yeah, I think right there is good. Hit OK. And then I also want to give it a, we'll do a drop shadow. Same way as before, so I'll be quick here. I'm not sure if I like that. If we do that, maybe we could just do this. Make it actually darker. And then we could do an inner shadow up here. Change it to normal. 0, 1. All right, and then we'll hit OK. And then finally, we can move up here, and we can create the same sort of shadow that kind of comes off. So I want to go underneath that layer here, and we'll switch to black. We'll select right around there, hold Shift. We'll just go beyond. I'd say right around here, and then hold Shift again. Take the direct selection tool, hold and hold Shift. It's like both of those, and we'll make that black. Drop the opacity down. Hit Control H. We'll right click. We'll rasterize that. Use the eraser tool. Alright, and then now to kind of just make that a little bit more realistic, we could take the square rectangular marquee tool and select just along this edge, the right portion of that shadow. Take the move tool and then hit the up arrow on your keyboard a couple times. Yeah, obviously it doesn't make sense if this is up too high. I'm going to do this again. Move it up again, and then I'm going to take the pen tool, change it to path, and we'll go right around here and hold Shift, right click, make selection, and just hit OK and hit delete. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So now what we can do is group all of those and hit Control G. Oops, Control G rather. Hit Control H by accident. We'll call this vertical. And then we'll take the move tool, auto select group. We'll duplicate this group. We'll duplicate it one more time. And then we can take auto select a layer and we can move these down. So we'll just select this layer, that circle, hold Shift and select on the shadow, and then hold Shift and select the actual layer mask or clipping mask. And that way they all move together. Although if you go too high, we would just have to extend the height of that green portion. Alright, and then take this one, do the same thing, hold Shift. We'll go slightly higher. Take this, hit Control T, drop that down. Alright, cool. Alright, so now we have the actual vertical sliders done. We could take these, or just one of them real quick, and make it a horizontal slider. So we'll just duplicate the top one, rename it to horizontal, right click, duplicate group. Oops, I already duplicated. What am I doing? It has been a rough day. My wife has pneumonia, my kids are sick. Alright, Control T, hold Shift, and we want it basically to be perfectly horizontal. Now obviously the shadow's messed up, so we'll fix that. Go ahead and select right around here. We go Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and then just move that right here. And that works out to where we really don't even have to mess with it, so that's good. And then finally I just wanted to do some toggle switches, like on-offs, and we'll do that over here. So now would be a good time to save what you have. So let's get started. I want to first take this layer, right click, copy the layer style. Alright, just Control Shift N to get a new layer there. And then what I want to do is take the rounded rectangle tool and create something just around that size. Alright, so right click and then paste layer style. So now we have that slight drop shadow right there. And now what we want to do is take this, right click and copy that layer style, and we'll collapse that, and we'll create another rectangle just above. Right click and paste. Now we may need to adjust this just a little bit, so I'm going to switch this little button right here. Actually, that didn't help. If it selects the other one, just hold Control and then click it. That'll deselect it. And we're going to go, I'll just pull it out right around there. Alright, now if I zoom up, I think it's a little bit too big, just a tad bit, so I'm just going to slightly pull it up by hitting Control T. Alright. Now I'm going to take both of them, scale them down. I think it's just too big. Alright, and then finally, I know I'm annoying everybody, I'm making so many adjustments to this. Take the direct selection tool, Control H to see it, and just pull this out a little bit further. Alright, so now we're ready to go. Okay, so inside here I'm going to put off. So with caps lock I have off written. I'm going to make it white, and I'm going to change the anti-aliasing to smooth. I'm using Source Sans Pro. This is a free font. You can find it on Google. I'm going to make it black and hit Control T. Scale that down by holding Shift and hit Apply. And then to make it kind of look like it's inset in there in that black space, we can double click, bring up the layer styles, and we could do inner shadow, and then just bring down the opacity to around 46 and hit OK. Alright, we're almost done. Now we just have to do a couple more things. I wanted to make it look like there's like little grips for your thumb on here. So the way we could do that is to create, I'll just use an ellipse, very tiny, like a 1 pixel practically, little circle there, and then take the foreground color, we'll leave it just right around there. It can be the same color, it doesn't really matter. Control H to get rid of that. Bring up the layer styles by double clicking, hit drop shadow, just going to change this to normal, bring this up, and change this to 0 and 1. Alright, hit OK. Alright, so if we do this enough times, or duplicate it rather, alright, so I went down right on the arrow keys. And then I'm going to take all these four and hit Control E, and that won't rasterize them, but it'll take all those shapes and combine to one layer. So I'll duplicate that, and that way we'll have 4. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's all perfect. I'm going to group those, or merge those rather, Control E, and duplicate it again. Alright, so you may not be able to see it very clearly here because of the video, but when you zoom out, it's a very fine detail, and I think it just looks kind of cool. So, alright, so the last thing we're about to do before we duplicate this and show it on the on state is to take the pen tool, and we'll click on the off layer, and we'll start right here. Go out here. I'm holding Shift. Alright. Oops. I hate when I do that. Make sure shape is selected. take the direct selection tool, hold shift, select this one, move it as needed. Take it down below, yeah, that layer. Make it black. Right click, rasterize it. And we'll take the, I'm going to hit Control 1 just to get back to 100% view. Take the opacity of that layer. And then use the eraser. And then the blur, which I failed to do on these ones. I kind of forgot to do that, but we could fix that real quick. Do just like this. Select that one. And then finally this one. All right. Okay, so let's go back to this layer. I think that's better, right around 31%. All right, so now all we have to do is take these layers. There's all of these. Hit Control G. We'll call this switch off. Right click, duplicate that group. Bring it down. And then we'll just take some of these layers and push them around. So I'll take this over here. Then I will take, yeah, we need those 3 layers, I believe. Yep. Wait, the shape 3 as well. Select this one. Change this to on. Change the color to green. All right, and there we go. Now if I just wanted to kind of move everything around here real quick. Take all of this, move it here. All right, I think that looks good. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of other type of interface elements that you could create, but this should give you a good start on the process of kind of creating a themed type of basically GUI kit. So hopefully you learned a lot. As always, visit designcourse.com and like us on the various social networks, as that is always helpful. And I will see you tomorrow.